Freeze. That black bride is a wanted criminal, Officer Travis Cole roared, raising his gun toward Maya as she stood before the altar. Isaiah Brooks, her groom, turned sharply. What did you just say? Cole pointed at Maya. Maya Denise Williams is wanted for murder, fleeing an active investigation, and fraud, under a false identity. A wave of gasps moved through the church. Murder, Maya whispered. Cole stepped farther down the aisle. A man named Leonard Hayes was found dead 3 nights ago, after transferring money to an account connected to this woman. The suspect fled before officers arrived. That is a lie, Maya said, her voice breaking. I don't know any Leonard Hayes. Cole opened the folder. You expect everyone here to believe that? Isaiah moved closer to her. Officer, stop throwing accusations around and show proof. Cole pulled out a printed photograph and held it high. It showed a woman entering a downtown bank branch. The image was grainy, but the woman had Maya's height, build, skin tone, and long dark hair swept over one shoulder. A murmur rose from the pews. That's not me, Maya said, but fear shook the words. Cole lifted another page. The suspect signed the name Maya D. Williams on a financial authorization form. The account was opened with your date of birth. We also found a phone number on the paperwork that matches a number previously registered to you. That was my old number, Maya cried. I haven't used it in years. From the second row, Aunt Denise stood slowly. Her face had gone pale. Maya, baby, what is he talking about? Maya turned toward her. Aunt Denise, I swear to you, I don't know. Cole's voice cut across the room. The victim's family says he was meeting a woman who promised to help him invest in a county contract, a woman calling herself Maya Williams. That was not me, Maya shouted. A cousin near the aisle lowered his eyes. Someone whispered, Lord, please don't let this be true. Another voice, not quiet enough, said, why would they come here if they didn't have something? The word struck Maya harder than the accusation. She looked at the faces of people who had known her for years, people who had prayed with her, eaten with her, and watched her grow into the woman standing before them. Now some of them looked as if they were seeing a stranger inside the wedding dress. No, Maya said, tears filling her eyes. Don't look at me like that. Please don't look at me like that. Isaiah took her hand. Maya, look at me. But her gaze stayed on the pews, on the doubt spreading through the room. Aunt Denise covered her mouth. If there is something you need to tell us. Maya's face crumpled. There is nothing. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't steal from anybody. I didn't run from anybody. I am being framed. Don't you hear me? I am being framed. Cole's expression hardened. That's enough. Please. That isn't enough, Maya whispered, her eyes wet. You called me a murderer at my own wedding. Now even my family is looking at me like I'm guilty. Isaiah turned to Cole, his voice low and controlled. You have done enough damage. Show a valid warrant, signed by a judge. Cole held up the folded paper, but when Isaiah reached for it, he pulled it back. You can read it downtown. Reverend Samuel King stepped down from behind the pulpit, his Bible still open behind him. Officer, if you have entered this house with the law, then honor the law. Let her counsel review the warrant. Cole barely glanced at him. Reverend, this woman is wanted in connection with a homicide. This woman, Reverend King said firmly, is standing in front of her church, her family, and her God. Speak carefully. Maya pressed one hand to her chest, breathing too fast. The bouquet shook until one white rose slipped loose and fell onto the floor. Isaiah bent toward her. Breathe. They think I did it, she whispered. No, they don't. Yes, they do. I can see it. Uncle Robert, sitting near the aisle in a navy suit, shook his head slowly. Maya, this doesn't make sense. Why would your name be on all that? I don't know, Maya cried. That's what I'm telling you. Cole seized the moment. People lie when they're caught. Isaiah stepped forward. And corrupt men hide behind paperwork. Cole snapped. Step back. Maya grabbed Isaiah's arm. No, please, don't give them what they came for. Isaiah looked at her, anger and pain fighting in his face, then stepped back beside her. Cole noticed Marcus Reed, the wedding videographer, still recording from the side aisle. You filming this? Marcus swallowed. I was hired to film the wedding. This is now an arrest matter. Maya turned toward Marcus through her tears. Keep recording. Cole's jaw tightened. Maya forced herself to look again at the documents. Let me see the birth date. Cole hesitated, then angled the page just enough. Maya saw the month and day were hers, but the year was wrong by one digit. The address listed was a place she had never lived. The signature looked close to hers, but the second loop in the W was different. "That is not my signature," she said. Cole scoffed. "Of course it isn't." "No, look at it. The W is wrong. My father taught me to sign my name when I was 12. I have never made that loop." For a moment, no one spoke. Maya pointed at the paper. "That date is wrong. That address is wrong. That signature is copied badly. That photograph is not me." Cole said, "Tell it to the detectives." "There are no detectives here," Isaiah said. "Only a man making a show." Cole stepped close. "Maya Williams, turn around. I have done nothing wrong. Turn around." Isaiah's voice dropped. "Officer, she's cooperating. Then she can cooperate in cuffs." A fresh shock moved through the church. Reverend King lifted a hand. "Officer Cole, that is unnecessary." Cole ignored him. Maya turned because she knew one wrong movement could become the story they wrote later. The first cuff closed around her wrist with a sharp metallic click, then the second followed, and Cole tightened them more than he needed to. The metal bit into the tender skin above her old scar, sending a hot line of pain up her arm. Maya gasped, then forced her shoulders back. "That's too tight," Isaiah said. Cole did not look at him. "They're secure. They're hurting her. She'll live." Maya blinked through tears. "I'm all right," she whispered, though she wasn't. Cole guided her toward the aisle with more force than courtesy. Maya stepped carefully, but the train of her gown caught near a pew, and when Cole kept moving, her hip struck the polished wood. Pain flared along her side. A few guests cried out. "Watch her dress," Aunt Denise said. Cole kept moving. "Clear the aisle." At the next narrow turn, Maya's elbow knocked against another pew, jolting her cuffed wrists. She clenched her jaw and swallowed the cry before it escaped. Cole tapped the end of his baton against his own palm, then against the back of a pew beside her, the sharp wooden sound making several guests flinch. "Keep walking," he said. Maya's face burned. Her wrists throbbed, her side ached, but she walked upright. Mrs. Laverne Dawson began to cry softly. Uncle Robert lowered his head, shame crossing his face. Aunt Denise stepped toward the aisle, but Maya looked at her and shook her head. "Not now. Not like this." At the church doors, Maya stopped and turned back as much as the cuffs allowed. Her face was wet, her hands trapped behind her, her wedding dress caught in the afternoon light. "My name is Maya Williams," she said, raw but clear. "I did not kill Leonard Hayes. I did not steal his money. I did not run from the law. Somebody put my name on a lie, and I will prove it." Cole muttered, "Move." Maya looked at Isaiah. He stood in the aisle holding her bouquet, the white handkerchief wrapped around the stems pressed between his fingers. "This ceremony is not over," she said. "It is only delayed." Then Cole led her outside into the bright Georgia sun, unaware that every false document in his folder had just become the first loose thread of a much larger crime. The patrol car door slammed shut, cutting Maya off from the church, from the altar, from Isaiah standing on the steps with her bouquet in his hand. Cole got behind the wheel and adjusted the mirror until his eyes found hers. "Still want to tell everyone you're innocent?" Maya looked down at the cuffs biting into her wrists. "I am innocent. That picture looked a lot like you. It was made to." Cole smirked. "You always have an answer?" "No," Maya said, voice low. "But I know a lie when it has my name on it." He drove her through downtown Briarwood without another word. Outside the window, life went on. A diner with a peach cobbler sign. A barber shop with men talking by the door. An American flag snapping above the courthouse. Maya watched it all pass in silence, breathing through the pain in her wrists. At Briarwood County Police Department, Cole brought her through a side entrance. The building smelled of burned coffee, floor cleaner, and old paper. A poster on the wall read, "Community Trust begins here." Maya almost laughed. Cole put her in a gray interview room and cuffed one wrist to the metal table. "I want an attorney," she said. "You'll get your call. I want this documented." Cole dropped the folder in front of her. "Everything is documented. That's what worries me." He leaned over the table. "Same name, same birth date, same old phone number, same face in the photo. Looks bad for you. The birth year was wrong. The address was wrong. The signature was copied badly. Close enough." Maya looked at him. "Close enough is not the law." Before Cole could answer, a desk sergeant opened the door. His nameplate read Harlan. He looked at Maya's wedding dress. then at the cuffs. At a wedding, Cole? She's wanted for homicide. Maya turned to the sergeant. The warrant information is defective. I've asked for counsel. Harlan looked at Cole. Is it signed? Cole hesitated. Harlan's face changed. Cole, it came through the system, Cole said. That's not what I asked. A knock came at the door. Another officer leaned in. There's a man in the lobby asking for her. Isaiah Brooks. Cole snapped. Tell him to wait. Maya's chest tightened with relief, but she kept still. Harlan pointed toward the hallway. Give her the call. Cole's jaw worked, but he uncuffed her from the table and walked her to a wall phone. Maya dialed Isaiah. He answered immediately. Maya, I'm here, she said. Listen. Call Jonathan Reed. The warrant is defective. Wrong birth year. Wrong address. Questionable signature. Unclear bank photo. They brought me through the side entrance. Are you hurt? She glanced at her wrists. I'm standing. That's not what I asked. The cuffs were tight. I'm all right. Cole reached for the receiver. Time's up. Don't sign anything, Isaiah said. I won't. And Maya? Yes? Hold your head up. The line went dead. Minutes later, Jonathan Reed entered the interview room in a brown suit, carrying an old leather briefcase. Isaiah stood behind him, still in his wedding suit, still holding Maya's bouquet. Jonathan looked at her wrists, then at Cole. Take the cuffs off, Cole said. She's a homicide suspect. Jonathan laid a paper on the table. She is being held on a defective system alert with mismatched identifying information. If you have a valid signed warrant, show it. Cole said nothing. Harlan appeared in the doorway and looked at Cole. Unlock her. The cuffs came off. Pain rushed through Maya's hands as blood returned to her fingers. Isaiah stepped close but waited until she reached for him. Then he took her hand gently. Maya looked at Cole. No apology? Cole closed the folder. This isn't over. Maya stood, her dress creased, her wrists marked, her voice quiet. No, Officer Cole, it is not. They walked out through the front entrance this time. Every officer in the station seemed to look up, then quickly look away. Outside, evening had settled over Briarwood. Isaiah still held her bouquet. One white rose was missing, but her father's white handkerchief remained wrapped around the stems. Maya looked back at the station doors. Someone had put her name inside a lie. Now she had to find out who held the pen. If you feel bad for Maya, hit like for her, and comment where you're watching from right now. You might find someone near you watching this story too. Maya did not speak until the car turned back onto the street leading to New Hope Baptist Church. Isaiah drove with both hands on the wheel. Jonathan Reed followed behind them in his own car. The sky had darkened to a deep Georgia blue, and the church windows glowed softly ahead, as if nothing terrible had happened there. Maya sat in the passenger seat, her wedding dress gathered in her lap, her wrists resting carefully on the fabric. Red marks circled her skin where the cuffs had been. Isaiah glanced at them once, then forced his eyes back to the road. I should have stopped him, he said. No, Maya whispered. That was what he wanted. He hurt you. He wanted worse than that. He wanted a picture of you losing control. Isaiah's jaw tightened. I almost gave it to him. But you didn't. They pulled into the church lot. Most of the cars were gone. A few older members remained near the entrance, speaking in low voices. When Maya stepped out, conversations stopped. No one knew whether to approach her or give her space. Aunt Denise stood by the steps, holding a tissue in one hand and her purse in the other. Her eyes were red. Maya, she said softly. Maya stopped. For a moment, all the pain from the sanctuary returned. The whispers, the doubt, the way her own family had looked at her when Cole held up those papers. Aunt Denise's face crumpled. Baby, I'm sorry. I should have known better. Maya wanted to say it was all right, but it wasn't. Not yet. You were scared, Maya said. That's no excuse. No, Maya said, her voice gentle but tired. It's not. Aunt Denise nodded as if she deserved that. I love you. Maya's eyes filled again. I know. Inside the church, the air still smelled of lilies and candle wax. The altar remained exactly as they had left it. One white rose lay on the floor near the front pew, bruised at the edges. Programs were scattered across the seats. On the pulpit, Reverend Samuel King's Bible was still open. Reverend King stood near the altar, waiting. He did not rush toward Maya. He did not bury her in pity. He simply opened his arms. Maya walked into them and finally let herself shake. My child, he said quietly, you held your head higher than most people ever have to. I was terrified, she said against his shoulder. Courage usually is. Isaiah picked up the fallen white rose and placed it beside the bouquet. The handkerchief wrapped around the stems was still clean, still folded the way Maya had arranged it that morning. Maya looked at it and swallowed hard. Daddy would have hated seeing this. Reverend King's expression changed. Your father would have hated what they did, but he would not have been surprised. Maya looked up. What does that mean? The Reverend walked to a small wooden cabinet beside the choir stand and took out a sealed envelope, yellowed with age. Maya's name was written on the front in her father's handwriting. He gave this to me years ago, Reverend King said. Told me not to hand it to you unless the system came for your name. Isaiah looked at Maya, then at the envelope. Maya took it with careful fingers. Her wrists hurt when she moved, but she opened it anyway. Inside was a single folded page. Her father's handwriting was steady and familiar. When they challenge your name, answer with the truth. When they challenge your place, answer by standing there. Maya read it once. Then again, Reverend King spoke softly. Your father believed there were men in this county using records like weapons, false alerts, misfiled warrants, quiet threats. He never had enough proof to break it open. Maya's breath slowed. The pain in her wrists seemed to move somewhere deeper. Did he know Benton? Isaiah asked. The Reverend nodded. He knew enough to fear what Benton could become. Maya folded the letter, but kept it in her hand. Cole had documents, a photo, my old number, my birth date, almost. That wasn't a mistake. No, Isaiah said. That was built. Jonathan Reed entered quietly from the back of the church. And whoever built it expected you to panic, sign something, or disappear into holding long enough for the story to spread. Maya looked at the aisle where Cole had walked her out. The wood still gleamed under the lights. It looked too ordinary for what had happened there. They wanted my family to doubt me, she said. Reverend King's eyes were sad. Doubt is one of the oldest tools of injustice. It makes people help carry the lie before they know it is a lie. Maya turned toward the pews. She could still hear Aunt Denise's trembling question. If there is something you need to tell us. It hurt because it came from love twisted by fear. Isaiah stepped beside her. Tomorrow changes everything. Maya shook her head. Not if we rush. If we reveal too much too soon, they'll call it revenge. Jonathan nodded. Then we move clean. Every document. Every timestamp. Every person who touched that alert. Maya looked at her father's letter again. A strange calm settled over her. Not peace, but purpose. This was supposed to be our wedding day, she said. Isaiah took her hand gently. It still is. She looked at him. He continued. They interrupted the ceremony. They didn't interrupt the vow. For the first time since Cole entered the church, Maya almost smiled. Reverend King closed the Bible on the pulpit. Some vows are spoken before witnesses, some are proven before enemies. Maya placed her father's letter inside the bouquet, beneath the white handkerchief. Then she faced the church doors. Tomorrow, she said, we find out who put my name inside that lie. Isaiah stood beside her. Jonathan stood behind them. Reverend King bowed his head as if the whole church had become a courtroom of conscience. Outside, Briarwood County slept under a quiet southern night. But inside New Hope Baptist Church, Maya Williams was no longer only a bride whose vows had been interrupted. She was a woman who had just been handed the first piece of a war her father had seen coming. Morning came to Briarwood County with a pale gold light that made everything look cleaner than it was. Maya stood in front of the bathroom mirror at Isaiah's house, fastening the last button of her dark blue suit jacket. Her wedding dress hung on the closet door behind her, creased at the hem, no longer perfect. Her wrists were still marked, thin red circles where Cole's cuffs had bitten into her skin. Isaiah appeared in the doorway, already dressed in his sheriff's uniform. He did not speak at first. His eyes went to her wrists. Maya noticed. Don't. I didn't say anything. You didn't have to. He stepped closer. You sure you want to do this today? Maya looked at herself in the mirror. 25 years old. Too young, Benton would say. Too emotional. Others would whisper. Too wounded. Some would hope. Yes, she said. If I wait, they get to write the first chapter. Isaiah nodded. Then we write it clean. Jonathan Reed was already waiting outside in his old brown sedan. Behind him, 2 black county vehicles idled at the curb. Inside, one sat council chairwoman Patricia Bell, a woman in her 60s with silver braids, sharp eyes, and no patience for men who mistook delay for power. In the other sat County Attorney Mark Ellis and a representative from Independent Oversight. Maya carried no bouquet this morning, only her father's letter, folded inside her jacket pocket. Briarwood County Police Department looked different in daylight. The brick building stood beside the courthouse annex, with an American flag moving slowly above the entrance. Officers came and went with paper cups of coffee, radios on their shoulders, weekend exhaustion still in their faces. Inside, Harold Benton was already holding court in the main conference room. He stood at the front beside a whiteboard, calm and polished in a gray suit. Around the table sat officers, supervisors, union representatives, and administrative staff. Officer Travis Cole leaned against the wall near the back, arms crossed, wearing the stiff expression of a man expecting praise. Benton spoke in a smooth voice. Yesterday's incident at New Hope Baptist was unfortunate, but I want everyone here to understand that this department acted on information available at the time. We do not apologize for taking public safety seriously. Cole gave a small nod. Benton continued, there may be outside criticism, there may be emotional reactions, but we will not allow one disrupted ceremony to become a political weapon against this department. The door opened. Every head turned. Maya walked in first. For 1 second, Cole looked irritated, as if a suspect had wandered into the wrong room. Then Isaiah entered behind her in full sheriff's uniform. Jonathan Reed came next. After him came Chairwoman Bell, County Attorney Ellis, and the oversight representative. Benton's face did not change, but his hand tightened around the marker. Miss Williams, he said carefully, this is a closed departmental meeting. Chairwoman Bell stepped forward. Not anymore. The room shifted. Chairs creaked. Someone set down a coffee cup too hard. Benton forced a smile. Madam Chairwoman, if this is about yesterday, I assure you, it is about yesterday, Bell said, and today, and the next 4 years of this county. Cole looked from Bell to Isaiah, then to Maya. Maya said nothing. Bell opened a folder, effective immediately. Maya Williams will serve as County Police Chief of Briarwood County. Sheriff Isaiah Brooks will oversee interagency coordination and county compliance during the transition. The silence was absolute. Cole's face drained of color. Benton looked at Maya then, really looked at her, and for the first time she saw the calculation behind his eyes. Maya stepped to the front of the room. Her voice was calm. Yesterday, someone used this department to interrupt my wedding, accuse me of murder, and place false documents in front of my family. Today, I am here to find out whether that was incompetence, corruption, or both. No one moved. Cole swallowed. You're the new chief? Maya turned to him. Good morning, Officer Cole. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Benton recovered first. Chief Williams, with respect, any review of yesterday's matter should be handled externally. You are personally involved. There is a conflict. Maya nodded once. That is why County Attorney Ellis, Independent Oversight, and Sheriff Brooks are present. Every step will be logged. Every document will be preserved. Every action will be reviewable. Benton's smile thinned. That sounds excessive. Calling a bride a murderer in church was excessive, Isaiah said. A few officers looked down. Maya placed a written order on the table. Effective now. All records connected to the alert under my name are frozen. No deletion, no modification, no reclassification. That includes system logs, dispatch notes, warrant queries, internal messages, body camera metadata, and all access history for the past 72 hours. Benton said, You can't just... I can, Maya said, and I have. County Attorney Ellis slid another paper across the table. The order is lawful. Cole shifted near the wall. I acted on what came through the system. Maya looked at him. Then the system will prove that. His eyes flicked to Benton. It was quick. Too quick for most people to notice. Maya noticed. Benton cleared his throat. Officer Cole did what any officer would do under the circumstances. No, Maya said. Any officer with discipline would verify a homicide warrant before entering a church during a wedding. The room held its breath. Cole's jaw tightened. The documents matched her. They were close, Maya said. Close is how lies survive long enough to hurt people. Chairwoman Bell turned to the staff seated along the wall. You will cooperate fully with Chief Williams and the oversight representative. One administrative woman near the end of the table lowered her eyes. Maya noticed her fingers gripping a pen so tightly the knuckles had gone pale. Her nameplate read Grace Holloway. Benton saw Maya notice her. His voice softened into warning. I would advise everyone here to avoid speculation. Careers can be damaged by careless assumptions. Grace's hand froze. Maya looked at Benton. Careers can also be damaged by false warrants. The marker in Benton's hand snapped. The sound was small, but in that silent room it cracked like a signal. Maya turned to the officers. This department serves the people of Briarwood County. Not reputations, not private interests, not fear. If yesterday was a mistake, we will document it. If it was misconduct, we will expose it. If it was part of something larger, we will not stop at the first name on the page. For the first time, several officers looked directly at her. Isaiah stood beside the door, arms at his sides, saying nothing. He did not need to. His presence made clear that the sheriff's office was watching. Benton set the broken marker down. And what do you expect from us, Chief? Maya met his eyes. The truth, she said, starting with who put my name in that system. No one answered. But across the room, Grace Holloway looked up for half a second, and in her face, Maya saw fear, recognition, and the first fragile sign that someone inside the building knew where the lie had begun. Grace Holloway did not approach Maya in the conference room. She waited until the meeting broke apart, until Benton left with Cole at his side, until officers began pretending they had somewhere else to be. Then she appeared near the records hallway with a stack of folders pressed to her chest. Chief Williams, she said quietly. Maya turned. Miss Holloway. Grace looked nervous at being called by name. She was in her late 40s, with tired eyes, neat hair, and the careful posture of someone who had survived years in government offices by noticing everything and saying very little. Do you have a minute? Grace asked. Isaiah, standing beside Maya, studied her face. Should county council be present? Grace swallowed. Maybe later. Not for the first thing. Maya nodded. Walk with me. They moved into the records division. A long room lined with metal filing cabinets and humming printers. It smelled like toner, old paper, and burnt coffee. Grace shut the door but did not lock it. I've worked here 19 years, she said, long enough to know the difference between a mistake and a pattern. Maya said nothing. Grace set the folders on a side table. The alert on your name was entered 2 minutes before the ceremony. Isaiah's eyes sharpened. Before Cole arrived at the church? Yes. By who? Maya asked. Grace hesitated. That's the problem. The login belongs to an inactive administrative account. Maya looked at her. Inactive accounts don't wake up by themselves. No, Mom. Grace opened the first folder. Inside were printed screenshots, timestamps, and access logs. The account was used from inside this building. Terminal 3B. Records access station. Whoever used it knew how to create an alert that looked official enough to scare people, but not clean enough to survive a real audit. Isaiah leaned over the page. Wrong birth year. Wrong address. Old phone number. Grace nodded. Enough to match you in a hurry. Enough to fall apart under pressure. Maya felt the room grow colder. Was mine the first? Grace looked down. That was answer enough. She opened the second folder. I started checking similar cases after you left last night. I searched for alerts corrected within 48 hours, flagged as clerical error, involving mismatched birth dates, old phone numbers, or recycled addresses. How many? Isaiah asked. Grace's voice dropped. At least 26 in 5 years. Maya slowly touched the edge of the folder. Who were they? Mostly black residents. Business owners. Contractors. Nurses. Real estate agents. People with something to lose. Grace's mouth tightened, and the timing was always strange. One alert before a loan closing, one before a city contract vote, one before a licensing hearing, one before a church fundraiser where a man was supposed to announce his campaign. Maya stared at the pages. Names, dates, case numbers, lives reduced to clerical language. What happened to them? She asked. Grace took a breath. Some paid lawyers and got it cleared. Some lost jobs before it was fixed. Some signed settlements. A few just disappeared from the county records after that. Isaiah's voice was low. Disappeared how? Moved away. Closed businesses. Stopped fighting. Maya thought of Cole at the church, holding up papers that looked close enough to poison a room. She heard again the whisper from the pews. Why would they come here if they didn't have something? Grace continued. Chief Williams. This was not the first false warrant. It was just the loudest one. Maya looked up. Why come to me now? Grace's eyes filled, but she did not cry. Because yesterday, I watched them do it to someone who could answer back. The words landed hard. Before Maya could respond, footsteps passed outside the door. Grace stiffened. Isaiah stepped closer to the hallway window. The footsteps continued, then faded. Grace lowered her voice. Benton watches everything in records. He calls it quality control. But people learn what that means. Maya asked, "What does it mean?" It means if a file embarrasses the wrong person, it changes. If a complaint names the wrong officer, it gets reclassified. If a citizen pushes too hard, something else appears in their background. Isaiah looked at Maya. That's not bad paperwork. That's a machine. Grace nodded, and I helped feed it by staying quiet. Maya's expression softened, but her voice stayed firm. Fear is not the same as guilt. But from this moment on, silence becomes a choice. Grace absorbed that. I kept copies, she whispered. Maya's eyes lifted. Copies of what? Access logs, deleted alerts, correction requests, a few internal notes, not everything. Enough to show the pattern. Grace reached into her folder and pulled out a small sealed envelope. I didn't know who to give them to. Maya did not take it immediately. If you hand that to me, we do this properly. Chain of custody. Witness transfer. Whistleblower protection. No hallway secrets that Benton can twist. Grace looked almost relieved. That's why I came to you. Maya turned to Isaiah. Call Jonathan. Call County Attorney Ellis. And have the oversight representative meet us. Here. Isaiah was already reaching for his phone. Grace exhaled, her shoulders dropping as if she had been holding up a weight for years. Maya looked at, pity the names in the folder. Did any of these cases connect to money? Grace hesitated again. I don't have proof, but after some of the alerts, people came in asking about private bond fees. Private bond fees? Isaiah repeated. Grace nodded. Fees that don't exist in county policy. Maya's gaze sharpened. Who collected them? I don't know, not officially. Grace glanced toward the closed door. But the same outside consultant's name keeps showing up. Before Maya could ask more, the records room door opened. Harold Benton stood there. His eyes moved from Maya to Isaiah, then to Grace, then to the open folders. Well, he said smoothly, this looks like a conversation that should have been scheduled. Grace went pale. Maya calmly closed the top folder. Good. You're here. Benton smiled. Am I? Yes, Maya said. You can explain why an inactive account inside your department created a false homicide alert under my name 42 minutes before my wedding. For the first time, Benton's smile did not reach his eyes. That sounds like speculation. Maya held his stare. Then let's make it documentation. Isaiah stepped beside her, phone in hand. County counsel is on the way. So is oversight. Benton looked at Grace. His voice softened into something almost kind. Miss Holloway, be careful. Careers have been ruined by misunderstandings. Maya moved half a step, placing herself between Benton and Grace. So have lives, she said. The room went silent, except for the hum of the printer. Benton adjusted his cuffs. Chief Williams, you are new here. I suggest you learn the difference between leadership and accusation. Maya picked up the folder of names. And I suggest you learn the difference between a clerical error and a trail. Benton's face hardened for only a second, but Maya saw it. Then it was gone. He turned toward the door. I'll await proper procedure. Maya watched him leave. Grace's hands were shaking now. Maya spoke gently. Miss Holloway, look at me. Grace did. You are not alone in this room anymore. Grace nodded, but fear still lived in her eyes. Maya looked down at the folder again, at the names of people who had been quietly cornered by paperwork, shame, and fear. Yesterday, she had thought someone had tried to destroy her wedding. Now she understood they had interrupted far more than a ceremony. They had exposed the first false thread of a system built to make innocent people pay for their own freedom. By noon, the records room had become a war room. County Attorney Ellis arrived first, carrying a legal pad, and the expression of a man who already knew his quiet Monday had been ruined. Jonathan Reed came behind him with his worn leather briefcase. The independent oversight representative, Marcia Lane, set a recorder on the table and stated the time, the date, and every name in the room. Grace Holloway handed over the sealed envelope with both hands. Maya watched Marcia mark it, photograph it, and log it. No hallway secrets, Maya said quietly. Jonathan nodded. No shortcuts. Shortcuts are how corrupt people survive. Grace sat at the end of the table, pale but steady. Isaiah stood near the door, not guarding it exactly, but making it clear no one would enter without being seen. Ellis opened the first file. These are all corrected alerts? Grace nodded. Corrected, deleted, or reclassified as clerical errors. Marcia scanned the list. 26 names? That I found fast, Grace said. There may be more. Maya leaned over the table. Start with the pattern. Grace pulled a folder forward. The alerts hit people at pressure points. Loan closings, licensing hearings, contract signings, campaign announcements, moments when public embarrassment would cost them money or reputation. Jonathan looked up, and after the alert, Grace swallowed. Most were contacted by someone outside the department. Who? Isaiah asked. Grace slid over a page. A consultant named Daryl Voss. Ellis frowned. I know that name. You should, Jonathan said. He used to hang around Bond Court calling himself a compliance advisor. Grace nodded. He told people he could make the warrant problem go away. For a fee. What kind of fee? Maya asked. Grace's mouth tightened. 10,000, 25, sometimes more. One business owner paid 70,000 after being told his arrest record would kill a county contract. Isaiah's face went cold. Those fees don't exist. No, Grace said. They don't. Marcia clicked her pen. Where did the money go? Grace pulled another document from the folder. That's where it gets strange. Some payments went to Voss directly, but larger ones went to a company called Civic Path Holdings. The name sat in the room like something polished and rotten. Maya repeated it. Civic Path Holdings. Jonathan leaned back. Sounds like a community development firm. It isn't, Grace said. Not really. It has no real office. Just a mailing address in Macon and a registered agent who has opened a dozen shell companies. Ellis rubbed a hand over his mouth. Do we have a Benton connection? Grace hesitated, then nodded. Not direct. But Civic Path paid consulting fees to a family trust linked to Benton's brother-in-law. The room went silent. Maya felt the shape of the thing harden. Yesterday, she had been a bride accused at the altar. Now she was looking at a business model. They weren't enforcing the law, she said. They were selling people their own freedom. Isaiah looked at the files. And if the person paid, the alert disappeared. Grace nodded, usually within 48 hours. And if they didn't? Maya asked. Grace turned to the last folder. Her hand slowed. Then the damage stayed. Inside were summaries, not full stories. But they were enough. A restaurant owner who lost his liquor license renewal. A contractor whose school renovation bid collapsed after an arrest rumor. A nurse manager removed from promotion consideration. A barber who gave up half his shop to keep his name out of the paper. Then there was one file with a black ribbon paperclip to the corner. Maya touched it but did not open it yet. Who is this? Grace's voice softened. Samuel Tate. Owned a small trucking company. False fraud alert. He refused to pay. Lost 2 contracts. Then his insurance. 6 months later, he took his own life. No one spoke for a long moment. Maya opened the file only enough to read the first page. No details beyond what was needed. A name, a business, a family, a life cornered by paper until hope ran out. Isaiah's voice was low. You were not the first. Maya closed the file gently. No. I was just the first they failed to swallow. Jonathan removed his glasses. We need financial records, bank subpoenas, corporate filings, communications between Voss and anyone in this department. Ellis nodded. That means outside prosecution. If Maya leads every piece, Benton will scream conflict. I expect him to, Maya said. So we build this clean enough that his screaming becomes background noise. Marcia looked at Grace. Can you identify who had access to the inactive account? Grace took a breath. Technically, 4 administrators. Practically, only 2 people knew it still existed. Me and Benton. Isaiah's eyes moved to hers. You didn't use it. Grace looked offended for the first time. No, Sheriff. I did not. I believe you, he said. But I needed to hear you say it. Maya asked. Can the account be tied to a terminal? Yes, Terminal 3B, but logs were partially wiped. Partially? Jonathan asked. Grace nodded. Whoever did it knew enough to delete the obvious trail, not enough to erase the backup index. For the first time, A small, tired smile touched Maya's face. There's a backup. There is always a backup, Grace said. If you know where old systems hide their ghosts. The room breathed again. Ellis began writing. We preserved the server immediately. Maya turned to Isaiah. Can your office secure the system without touching department evidence? Yes, Isaiah said. I'll bring in county IT under oversight. No one from Benton's chain gets near it. Marcia stopped the recorder briefly only to replace the battery, then started it again. This is now a formal preservation matter. A knock came at the door. Everyone went still. One of Isaiah's deputies leaned in. Chief Williams, there's a reporter downstairs asking about a rumor that you were released because of political pressure. Maya looked at Jonathan. Jonathan sighed. Benton moves fast, Isaiah said. We can issue a statement. Maya shook her head. Not about me. Not yet. Ellis frowned. Then what? Maya placed her hand on the folder of names. We announce an audit of warrant alerts and administrative corrections for the last 5 years. No accusations, no names. Just the audit. Jonathan smiled faintly. Let Benton wonder what we know, and let the victims know someone is finally looking, Maya said. Grace lowered her eyes, and a tear slipped down her cheek. She wiped it quickly, embarrassed. Maya pretended not to notice. Mercy, she had learned, was sometimes giving people privacy inside their breaking. By evening, the first order went out under Maya's name. All warrant alerts, corrections, deletions, and reclassifications from the past 5 years were frozen pending independent review. Civic Path Holdings was not mentioned. Benton was not mentioned. Cole was not mentioned. But in the old brick police building, fear began moving in the walls. As Maya left the records room, she glanced once at the folder marked Samuel Tate. Yesterday, she had thought a false warrant could ruin a wedding. Now she understood it could ruin a life. And somewhere in Briarwood County, the men who had charged people for their own freedom were about to learn that the bill had finally come due. Marcus Reed arrived at Jonathan's office just after 7, carrying a black camera bag like it weighed more than equipment. The office sat above an old pharmacy on Main Street, with tall windows facing the courthouse square. Most of downtown Briarwood had gone quiet for the night, except for the diner across the street and the glow of the sheriff's cruiser parked at the curb. Maya sat at the conference table with Isaiah, Jonathan, Grace, and Marcia Lane from oversight. Her wrists still ached, but she had stopped rubbing them. Pain, she had decided, was information, not instruction. Marcus set the camera bag on the table. I brought the raw footage, all of it. Jonathan looked at him over his glasses. You didn't upload anything? No, sir. I'm a wedding videographer, not a gossip channel. Marcus glanced at Maya. That day belonged to you. Even after what happened, it was still yours. Maya's throat tightened. Thank you. Marcus unzipped the bag and removed 2 memory cards and a small hard drive. Marcia logged each item, photographed the labels, and placed them in evidence sleeves before copying the files onto a secure laptop. No edits? She asked. None, Marcus said. You'll see the time code running. The room darkened as Jonathan dimmed the lights. The video opened with the altar, the flowers, Isaiah waiting with both hands folded in front of him. Maya appeared in frame, walking slowly, the ivory dress catching the colored light from the church windows. No one spoke for a moment. Even Grace, who had not been at the wedding, looked down as if she were intruding on something sacred. Then the doors on the screen opened. Cole entered. Freeze. That black bride is a wanted criminal. Maya heard the words again. But this time they sounded different. Colder. Because she was not inside the moment. She was outside it, watching a man attempt to turn her life into evidence against her. Isaiah reached under the table and took her hand. Marcus swallowed. There's more before that. I had a second camera near the back. It caught him coming in. Marcia opened the second file. The angle changed to the rear of the church. Cole stood just outside the door with another officer. He checked his phone, read something, then leaned toward the man beside him. The audio was faint. Jonathan turned up the volume. Cole's voice came through, low but clear enough. Benton said do it before the vows. No one moved. Grace whispered, "Oh my God." Isaiah's hand tightened around Maya's, but his voice stayed steady. Play it again. Marcia replayed the clip. Benton said do it before the vows. The sentence filled the room a second time. It was not a rumor now. It was not a feeling. It was a voice, a timestamp, a direction. Jonathan sat back. That puts Benton at the church before Cole ever stepped inside. Not physically, Marcia said, but operationally. Maya kept her eyes on the frozen image of Cole outside the church doors. He wanted the accusation to land before I became Isaiah's wife. Grace looked confused. Why would that matter? Because vows change how people stand, Maya said softly. He wanted me isolated in front of my own family. Marcus shifted in his chair. There's something else. I didn't know if it mattered. Show us, Isaiah said. Marcus opened another file from the reception camera that had been set up near the side aisle. It captured the moment Cole held up the folder and displayed the photograph. A few frames later, as Maya demanded to see the birth date, Cole turned slightly. For less than 2 seconds, the inside of the folder faced the camera. Marcia paused the video and enlarged the image. The print blurred, then sharpened enough to reveal a sticky note on the inside cover. Jonathan leaned closer. Can you read that? Marcia adjusted the contrast. The words became rough but visible. Use old number. Push homicide. H. B. The room went silent again. Grace covered her mouth. H. B. Maya did not say Benton's name. She did not need to. Jonathan's voice was quiet. This is enough to preserve Cole's phone immediately. Isaiah stood. I'll get a warrant request moving through the sheriff's office and outside counsel. We do it clean. Maya nodded. No shortcuts. Marcus looked between them. Is this going to put me in the middle of something? Maya turned to him fully. Yes, but not alone. He gave a nervous laugh without humor. That's honest, at least. You did the right thing, she said, and we will protect the chain of custody and your role in it. Marcus looked down at his hands. My father owned a print shop 2 blocks from the courthouse. He used to say a record is only as honest as the person who keeps it. He looked at the frozen screen. Yesterday, I just kept recording. That may be why the truth survived, Maya said. Jonathan copied the audio clip into the evidence log, then looked at Maya. Once Benton knows we have this, he'll attack the video. He'll say it was edited, misunderstood, taken out of context. He can say whatever he wants. Marcia replied. The raw files and timecodes are clean. Grace stared at the screen. But why risk it at a wedding? Why so public? Maya thought of the pews, the whispers, Aunt Denise's wounded eyes. Because public shame is part of the fee. People pay faster when they think their name is already ruined. The words settled over them. Isaiah returned from the hallway, phone in hand. County IT is ready to secure the server. Ellis is drafting the preservation order for Cole's phone and department messages. Jonathan looked satisfied. Good. Now we have records, money, and video. Not enough, Maya said. Everyone looked at her. She pointed to the frozen image of the sticky note. We have Benton's initials. We have Cole saying his name. But we still need to connect the church to Civic Path. I want to know whether someone planned to approach me after the arrest. Grace's face changed. Like the others, Maya nodded. Like the others. Marcus packed his empty camera bag slowly, as if leaving the footage behind felt strange. At the door, he paused. Chief Williams? Maya looked up. I'm sorry your wedding video became this. Maya glanced at the screen, where her image stood in a white dress beneath church light, moments before the doors opened. So am I, she said. But maybe it was meant to record more than a wedding. After Marcus left, the room stayed quiet. Outside, the diner sign flickered red across the window. Somewhere below, a car rolled over the old brick street. Maya stood and looked at the evidence sleeves on the table. A false warrant had brought shame into a church. A camera had followed it in. Now the lie had a voice. Elaine Porter arrived the next morning with a canvas tote, a silver laptop, and the expression of a woman who had spent 30 years watching people lie with spreadsheets. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, with reading glasses hanging from a chain, and a stainless steel tumbler of unsweet tea in her hand. Jonathan had called her before sunrise. By 9, she was seated in the back room of his office, looking at the first set of records from Grace. Elaine tapped one page. Civic Path Holdings. That's your pipe. Maya leaned forward. A shell company? More like a broom closet with a bank account. Elaine turned the laptop toward them. Registered in Macon. No real office. No employees I can find. Just a mailing address, a registered agent, and a series of payments that look polite enough to survive a lazy audit. Isaiah stood behind Maya's chair. Payments from victims? Elaine nodded. Some direct. Some routed through Daryl Voss, the so-called compliance consultant. They called them advisory fees, bond support, Expedited filing services. None of those terms exist in county policy. Grace sat beside Marcia Lane, hands folded tightly. That's what people asked me about. Private bond fees. I kept telling them we didn't have those. And then? Maya asked. Grace looked down. Some stopped calling. Elaine clicked to another screen. Here's the pattern. False alert appears. Citizen panics. Voss contacts them within 24 hours. Money moves to Civic Path or an associated LLC. Alert disappears or gets reclassified as clerical error. Jonathan removed his glasses. That's extortion wearing a tie. Elaine gave a dry smile. Most expensive kind. Maya studied the list of names. How much money? That we can see? About 800,000 over 5 years. The room went still. Isaiah's voice dropped. From small business owners? Mostly, Elaine said. A restaurant, an auto shop, a trucking company, a home health agency, 2 contractors, a beauty supply store, a family bakery. People with assets, but not enough political protection. Maya felt anger move through her, quiet and dangerous. They chose people who could pay, but couldn't fight. Elaine nodded. Exactly. Marcia pointed to one column. What about ownership transfers? Elaine opened another file. That's the dirtier part. 3 businesses transferred minority shares to companies connected to Civic Path. One barber signed over 40% of his shop. A contractor transferred equipment title. A bakery gave up profit participation on a county vendor deal. Grace whispered, they were taking pieces of people's lives. No, Maya said. They were making people buy back the right to keep living them. Elaine looked at her over the glasses. There's more. Civic Path paid consulting fees to a trust linked to Harold Benton's brother-in-law. Jonathan's eyes narrowed. Linked how? Same mailing address for 2 years. Same tax preparer. Same registered agent. And one payment memo that simply says, H.B. Review. Isaiah exhaled slowly. Careless. Arrogant, Elaine corrected. People like this don't think anyone will be allowed to look. Maya's phone buzzed on the table. A message from County Attorney Ellis appeared. Benton demanding written notice of audit scope. Union asking whether Cole is target. Local reporter requesting comment on political retaliation. Isaiah read it over her shoulder. He's trying to frame the frame before we finish building the wall. Maya set the phone down. Then we don't talk. We document. Elaine nodded approval. Good, because if you accuse before the money is locked, they move it. Jonathan turned to Isaiah. Can the sheriff's office request emergency preservation from the banks? We can start with subpoenas through outside counsel, Isaiah said. But I want a judge who doesn't owe Benton favors. Marcia made a note. State-level oversight can support the request. Grace hesitated. There's something else. Maya looked at her. Go ahead. Grace opened a folder she had kept close to her. Some of the corrected alerts were followed by sealed internal memos. I could only see titles, not content. But the initials, HB, appear on 4 of them. What titles? Jonathan asked. Grace read from the page. Public confidence strategy. Containment plan. Subject compliance risk. Media leverage. Maya closed her eyes for a second. Isaiah's hand rested gently on the back of her chair. Maya? She opened her eyes. That's what they planned for me. No one argued. If Cole's arrest had held, if the church had believed the accusation, if Isaiah had lost control, someone would have come next. Maybe Darrell Voss. Maybe another clean-suited messenger. They would have offered a private way out. Pay, resign, sign, disappear. Elaine turned the laptop back toward herself. Chief Williams, this is bigger than your wedding. I know. No, Elaine said, not unkindly. I mean bigger than Benton, too. Money like this has friends. The room absorbed that. Jonathan leaned forward. Then, we move in layers, preserve data, secure video, protect Grace, lock down financial records, identify victims willing to speak. Maya nodded. No public accusations until we can show the whole chain. Isaiah looked at Elaine. Can you make the money readable for a council room? Elaine gave him a look. Sheriff, I can make a church bake sale ledger look like organized crime if the numbers deserve it. For the first time that morning, Grace almost smiled. Maya stood and walked to the window. Across the street, the diner was filling with the lunch crowd. Men in work shirts, women with grocery bags, retired folks lingering over coffee, ordinary people who trusted systems because life was too hard to question every stamp and signature. They built a toll road through fear, Isaiah said quietly behind her. Maya nodded. Then we closed the road. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. The message contained only one sentence. Stop digging before the county learns what kind of woman you really are. Maya showed it to Isaiah, then to Jonathan. Jonathan's face hardened. That's intimidation. Maya looked back through the window at Briarwood moving under the midday sun. No, it's confirmation. She handed the phone to Marcia for logging. Elaine closed her laptop. I'll need 2 hours to prepare a financial summary. You'll have it, Maya said. Grace looked at the list of names on the table. What happens to them? The people who paid? Maya picked up the folder and held it carefully, as if the paper itself carried bruises. We start by giving them back their names, she said. Then we follow every dollar taken from them. Outside, the courthouse clock struck noon. Inside Jonathan Reed's office, the lie was no longer just a voice on a wedding video or a false alert in a police system. It had a bank account. Maya did not read Cole's personnel file to punish him. She read it because every corrupt system had two kinds of people. The ones who built it, and the ones who obeyed it because obedience was easier than conscience. By late afternoon, Jonathan's office had grown quiet. Elaine Porter had gone to prepare the financial summary. Grace sat in the corner reviewing old access logs with Marcia Lane. Isaiah stood by the window, watching the courthouse square as if Benton might walk across it carrying another lie. Maya opened Travis Cole's file. Service record. Commendations. Complaints. Reprimands softened into verbal counseling. 3 citizen complaints. Closed without findings. 2 use of discretion reviews. 1 note about strong loyalty to command structure. That phrase always worries me, Jonathan said, glancing over. Maya looked up. Loyalty to command structure? Means he'll follow a bad order if the right man gives it. Isaiah came to the table. Anything tying him to Voss or Civic Path? Not yet, Maya said, but he was assigned to 3 of the old false alert cases. Grace looked over from her laptop. 3? Maya turned the pages. A contractor, a barber, a home health administrator. Jonathan's face tightened. That's not random. No, Maya said. But it still doesn't tell me why he walked into my wedding like he owned the room. Isaiah reached for another folder from the personnel packet. What's this? Maya read the tab. Family emergency leave. 2 years ago. She opened it, expecting nothing important. Then the room seemed to narrow. The report was brief. A serious vehicle accident on County Road 18. Adult female trapped in the vehicle. First person on scene unidentified due to an active undercover operation nearby. Victim removed before fire crews completed arrival. Rescuer sustained burns to the wrist and declined public identification due to operational security. Maya stopped reading. Isaiah saw her face change. Maya? She closed the folder halfway. Jonathan leaned forward. What is it? Maya did not answer at once. She looked down at her left wrist. The cuff marks from yesterday circled the skin, but beneath them was the older scar, pale and curved, like a question that had never been asked aloud. Isaiah followed her gaze. His voice softened. That was you. Grace looked confused. What was her? Maya took a breath. 2 years ago, I was working an undercover assignment near County Road 18. There was an accident. I got there before the responders. Isaiah's eyes stayed on her wrist. Cole's family? Maya nodded. His sister, Rachel Cole. I didn't know who she was then. The room went quiet. Grace whispered, You saved his sister? I helped get her out, Maya said. That is all the report needs to say. Jonathan sat back slowly. And Cole never knew? No. I was in plain clothes, wearing protective glasses, and the assignment was sealed. I left before anyone asked my name. Isaiah's jaw tightened. So yesterday, he put cuffs over the scar he didn't recognize. Maya looked back at the file. The words blurred for a second, not from tears, but from the strange cruelty of it. A man could owe his family's peace to someone and still destroy her in public if the lie was dressed correctly. Grace said, Are you going to tell him? Maya closed the folder. Not to make him talk. Jonathan nodded slowly. Good. Isaiah looked at her. Why not? Because a good act is not a leash, Maya said. I will not pull him with it. That doesn't mean the truth won't matter. No, she said, but if he tells the truth, it has to be because he finally sees what he did, not because I hand him a debt and ask him to pay it. Isaiah studied her with quiet sadness. You keep saving people who don't know what it cost you. Maya gave him a tired look. And you keep saying things that make me sound nobler than I am. No, he said. I say things that make you uncomfortable because they're true. For a brief moment, the room breathed like a normal room again. Then Marcia's laptop chimed. She looked at the screen. County IT preserved the inactive account logs. They found backup fragments. Grace sat up. From Terminal 3B? Yes, and there's a user pattern. Whoever used the account accessed 3 old false alert files before creating Maya's. Jonathan leaned forward. Which 3? Marcia read the names. Grace went pale. Those are the same 3 cases Cole worked. Maya looked down at Cole's file. Isaiah's voice dropped. Someone used cases connected to Cole as templates. Or Cole gave them the language, Jonathan said. Maya shook her head. Maybe. But listen to the wedding video again. Cole sounded like a man following a script, not writing one. Grace asked. Does that make him less guilty? No, Maya said. It makes him useful. Isaiah glanced toward her. Careful. I know. Maya placed Cole's file on top of the false alert folders. He chose to walk into that church. He chose to tighten those cuffs. He chose to humiliate me with paperwork he didn't verify. But Benton may have chosen him because he was loyal, angry, and easy to aim. Jonathan's phone buzzed. He read the screen and frowned. What is it? Isaiah asked. Local news just posted a teaser. Questions grow around newly appointed county police chief after wedding arrest controversy. Benton's press conference is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Grace shut her eyes. He's going public. Maya rose from her chair and walked to the window. Across the street, the courthouse clock glowed in the fading light. People were leaving work, carrying purses, lunch bags, folded newspapers, small worries. They did not know yet that their county had been selling fear as a service. Isaiah came to stand beside her. He'll say you're emotional, too young, too personally involved. I know. He'll make himself sound reasonable. That's what men like Benton do best. Jonathan joined them. We can release the video. No, Maya said. Grace looked startled. Why not? Because if we release one piece too early, he attacks that one piece. I want him to speak first. I want him to choose his lie in public. Isaiah turned to her. Then we answer with records. Maya nodded. Not anger. Records. Her wrist throbbed beneath the scar and the cuff marks. For the first time, she wondered what Cole would do when he learned the truth about Rachel. Not because she needed his gratitude, but because a man's conscience sometimes woke too late and still had to decide what to do with the morning. Maya looked back at his file. There were debts no one could collect. There were truths no one could bury forever. And somewhere between those two things stood Officer Travis Cole, still believing Benton's protection was stronger than the past he had forgotten. Benton chose the courthouse steps because he understood symbols. By 10 the next morning, local reporters had gathered beneath the old stone columns with cameras, microphones, and coffee cups in their hands. Behind them, a few county employees lingered on their lunch breaks. Across the street, through the windows of May's Diner, older men and women watched over plates of eggs, grits, biscuits, and gravy. Maya stood inside Jonathan Reed's office, looking down from the second-floor window. Isaiah stood beside her. Jonathan, Grace, Marcia, and Elaine watched the live stream on a laptop behind them. On the screen, Harold Benton stepped to the microphones in a gray suit and blue tie. He looked calm, fatherly, almost disappointed. That was his gift. He could make a lie sound like a civic duty. Briarwood County deserves stability, Benton began. It deserves experienced leadership, not a young chief turning a personal embarrassment into a political purge. Isaiah's jaw tightened. Maya did not move. Benton continued. What happened at New Hope Baptist Church was unfortunate. No one wants to see a ceremony interrupted, but officers acted on information available in the system. And now, certain people are trying to turn that difficult moment into an attack on this department. A reporter asked. Are you saying Chief Williams is abusing her new position? Benton gave a careful sigh. I am saying grief and humiliation can cloud judgment. I respect Miss Williams, but no one should investigate a matter in which she is personally involved. Jonathan muttered, there it is. Maya watched Benton lower his voice for effect. This county cannot be led by resentment, he said. It must be led by discipline. Grace's hands curled around her coffee cup. He makes it sound so reasonable. That is how men like him survive, Maya said. Another reporter lifted a hand. Mr. Benton, were you aware Officer Cole planned to enter the church before the vows? Benton smiled faintly. I do not micromanage lawful operations. Elaine snorted. That man wouldn't let a stapler move without permission. On the screen, Benton paused as if he hated having to say the next part. There are also questions about Chief Williams's past professional conduct. I will not discuss unverified materials, but I believe the county should pause this transition until all concerns are reviewed. Maya's phone buzzed almost immediately, then Jonathan's, then Isaiah's. Jonathan read first. The email is out. He turned his laptop toward Maya. The subject line was already spreading through local inboxes. Questions regarding Maya Williams and prior misconduct review. The email claimed Maya had once buried evidence in a state compliance case. It offered no real documentation, only fragments, insinuation, and a blurred memo with no signature. Grace looked horrified. That's fake. Maya read it once. Her expression did not change, but something inside her went cold. Isaiah said, Maya, I'm all right. No, he said gently. You are standing. That is not the same thing. She looked away from the screen. Below, Benton was answering another question, his hands open, his voice smooth. He's not trying to prove anything, Maya said. He's trying to make people tired of knowing what's true. At May's Diner, the television above the counter carried the press conference live. Mr. Alton Pierce, who owned the barbershop next door, sat in a booth with two retired teachers and a woman who ran the church pantry. The waitress refilled coffee without asking. That girl looked scared at that church, one man said. But scared don't mean guilty. A retired teacher shook her head. I remember when my nephew had a bad record pop up before his job interview. Took 3 months to clear. By then, the job was gone. Mr. Pierce stared at Benton on the screen. Funny how these mistakes always know when to show up. Back in Jonathan's office, Marcia saved copies of the email, headers included. Elaine leaned over her shoulder. This came through a relay, Elaine said. Not amateur. Jonathan nodded. Benton wants her answering accusations instead of following money. Isaiah turned to Maya. We can release the church clip. No. He just attacked your character in public. And if we answer with one clip, he'll spend the day calling it emotional theater. I want him on record. Now he is. Grace spoke quietly. What do we do? Maya walked to the conference table and placed both hands flat on it. The cuff marks were fading, but not gone. We respond once, she said. No outrage, no argument, no long defense. Jonathan picked up a pen. Say it. Maya looked toward the window, where Benton was still standing in front of the cameras. The truth will not be decided by volume. It will be proven by records. Jonathan wrote it down and nodded. Clean, Isaiah added. Announce the audit again. Maya shook her head. No. We announce expansion of the audit to include outside financial relationships, connected to corrected alerts. Elaine smiled slowly. That will make Civic Path nervous. Good, Maya said. Nervous people make mistakes. Grace looked at her with a mixture of fear and admiration. Won't that warn Benton? He already knows we're coming, Maya said. Now I want every victim listening to know we are coming for more than my name. Jonathan typed the statement. Within minutes, it went out under the county letterhead. Chief Maya Williams will not litigate facts through rumor or press conference. The truth will not be decided by volume. It will be proven by records. Effective immediately, the independent audit of warrant alerts will expand to include financial relationships, third-party compliance contacts, and all administrative corrections connected to affected citizens over the past 5 years. The room remained quiet after Jonathan sent it. Then Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. Isaiah looked at the screen. Don't answer. Maya answered and put it on speaker. A man's voice, low and altered, said, You should have stayed a bride. Maya did not flinch. And you should have stayed anonymous. The line went dead. Marcia logged the call. Isaiah's face hardened, but Maya only looked back at the courthouse steps. Benton was leaving now, surrounded by reporters, his expression still calm for the cameras. Grace whispered, Aren't you afraid? Maya thought of the church, the cuffs, Aunt Denise's doubt. The names in Grace's folder. Samuel Tate's black ribbon. Yes, she said, but fear is not an instruction. That evening, the county split into conversations. Some people believed Benton. Some believed Maya. Most did what people do when power and truth collide. They waited to see who would bleed first, but in barbershops, kitchens, church basements, and diner booths, older voices began telling older stories. A bad warrant before a loan. A strange fee before a license. A consultant who promised to make trouble disappear. By attacking Maya in public, Benton had meant to isolate her. Instead, he had made the county remember. Grace Holloway called Maya at 6:12 the next morning. Her voice was so low Maya had to sit up in bed to hear her. Chief Williams, I need to see you before I go into the building. Maya looked toward the window. The sun had not fully risen. Beside her, Isaiah was already awake. Where are you? Maya asked. Courthouse parking lot, back row. I think they're moving me today. Isaiah was out of bed before Maya ended the call. 20 minutes later, they pulled into the courthouse lot. Grace sat in an aging blue sedan with both hands around a travel mug, though she had not taken a sip. She looked smaller than she had in the records room, as if the night had pressed down on her shoulders. Maya got into the passenger seat while Isaiah stood outside near the hood, close enough to see, far enough to give them privacy. Grace handed Maya a manila envelope. They reassigned me to facilities inventory. Maya's eyes hardened. Who signed it? Benton's deputy, effective immediately. Grace gave a thin, humorless smile. 19 years in records, and suddenly they need me counting folding chairs. Maya opened the envelope. Inside was a printed transfer order, a flash drive, and several folded pages. Grace's hands trembled. I kept more than I told you. Maya looked up. I was afraid, Grace said. I thought if I gave you everything at once, I'd lose my job before you could use it. You don't have to explain fear to me, Maya said. Grace swallowed. There are backup logs, internal correction requests, and one audio file. I copied it 6 months ago after Benton made us wipe a complaint. I didn't know what to do with it. What's on the audio? Grace looked toward the courthouse. Benton talking to Cole. Maya felt the air inside the car change. Grace continued. Not about the wedding, about how to make someone pay. Isaiah opened the driver's door and leaned in. We need Jonathan and Marcia. No, Grace said quickly, panic flashing across her face. Not here. Not in this lot. Maya nodded. Then we move. They drove to Jonathan Reed's office before the courthouse opened. Jonathan arrived in the same brown suit from the day before, tie not yet fully tightened. Marcia Lane came 10 minutes later with an evidence bag, a recorder, and no small talk. Grace formally handed over the flash drive. Marcia logged it. Jonathan made a working copy. Everyone stood silent while the audio loaded. At first, there was only static. Then Benton's voice filled the room, smooth and familiar. People don't pay when they think they have options. Cole answered, younger sounding, uncertain. What if they lawyer up? Benton laughed softly. Then you picked the wrong target. You don't press the ones with power. You press the ones with something to lose and no one to call. Maya's face stayed still. The recording continued. Cole asked, and if they refuse? Benton said, then the alert stays. The rumor spreads. A bank gets nervous. A contract disappears. Sooner or later, everybody pays. Money, property, silence. People always pay. Grace covered her mouth. Isaiah's voice was low. That's him. Jonathan nodded. That's conspiracy. Marcia did not look away from the laptop. There's more. Benton's voice returned, clearer now. And if you ever get someone public, someone proud, someone who thinks reputation protects them, make the shame happen first. Shame makes people negotiate. The room went cold. Maya knew before the next words came. Cole asked, like who? Benton said, like that Williams girl. If the council gets foolish enough to put her in my chair, make the bride beg. If she pays, she belongs to us. If she refuses, we ruin her before she ever touches that office. Grace began to cry silently. Maya did not. She sat very still, her hands folded on the table. The cuff marks faint, but visible on her wrists. Isaiah moved closer. Maya. She looked at him. Now we know. Jonathan stopped the recording and removed his glasses. This changes the timeline. Benton planned for you before the wedding. He planned for the office, Maya said. I was just the person standing in front of it. Grace shook her head. I should have come forward sooner. Maya turned to her. You came forward before he could bury it. That matters. Marcia sealed the drive. We need a formal hearing. Counsel, county attorney, union representative, outside oversight, and state investigators if Ellis can get them here. Jonathan looked at Maya. Once this begins, Benton will come for Grace. Then we protect her first, Maya said. Grace wiped her cheeks. I don't want special treatment. This is not special treatment, Isaiah said. This is witness protection inside a county process. Maya pulled out her phone and called County Attorney Ellis. We have recorded evidence linking Benton to the false alert pattern, coercive payments, and the incident at my wedding. I want an emergency council session today. Ellis was silent for 1 second. How strong? Strong enough that if we wait, we become part of the cover-up. That's strong, he said. I'll make the calls. After she hung up, Maya stood and walked to the window. Main Street was waking now. A delivery truck stopped outside the diner. An older man swept the sidewalk in front of the barber shop. Ordinary morning, ordinary people, the kind Benton had counted on staying too busy, too afraid, or too tired to fight paperwork with power behind it. Isaiah came beside her. You ready? No, Maya said, but readiness is overrated. He almost smiled. That sounds like something your father would say. Maya touched the folded letter in her jacket pocket. He did. Behind them, Jonathan organized the files into order. False alert, video, financial trail, personnel link, audio. Marcia prepared the evidence log. Grace sat with a cup of coffee Isaiah had brought her, holding it now like warmth had finally reached her hands. Maya turned back to the room. No surprises in there, she said. No humiliation, no theater. We lay out the truth, piece by piece. And let Benton meet the record he thought he controlled. Jonathan nodded. And Cole? Maya looked at the personnel file still sitting in the stack. Rachel Cole's name marked with a yellow tab. Cole gets the truth too, she said. All of it. By noon, the council chamber was being prepared. Chairs were arranged, microphones tested, legal notices printed. Benton had used private rooms, side doors, and quiet threats to turn fear into profit. Maya intended to use a public room, a clean record, and every name he had tried to erase. The war had moved out of the shadows, and this time, the paperwork belonged to the truth. The council chamber was full before 1 o'clock. No one had announced a public trial, but Briarwood knew how to hear trouble moving through its own walls. Council members sat behind the raised desk. County Attorney Ellis arranged folders near the center table. Marcia Lane checked the recorder. Jonathan Reed set the evidence binders in order. Isaiah stood near the side wall in his sheriff's uniform, quiet and watchful. Maya entered last. The room changed when she stepped inside. Some people looked at her wrists. Some looked away. Grace sat near Marcia, pale but steady. Marcus Reed sat 2 rows back, hands folded around his camera bag. Elaine Porter had her laptop open and her reading glasses low on her nose. Benton sat at the opposite table with his attorney, dressed in a dark suit, face composed. Officer Cole sat behind him, stiff and restless. Chairwoman Patricia Bell struck the gavel once. This emergency session is now in order. Benton's attorney rose. Madam Chair, we object to this proceeding. Chief Williams is personally involved in the matter under review. Maya stood before Bell could answer. That is why independent oversight, county council, and Sheriff Brooks are present. I will not ask this room to believe my feelings. I will ask it to review the record. Bell nodded. Proceed. Maya walked to the front table. She did not raise her voice. No one is here to be humiliated, she said, but everyone is here to answer for what was done in the name of the law. The chamber went silent. She began with the false alert. Marcia displayed the system log on the screen. This alert under the name Maya Denise Williams was entered 2 minutes before the incident at New Hope Baptist Church. The birth year was incorrect. The address was incorrect. The signature attached to the financial file did not match verified samples. Benton's attorney leaned toward him, whispering. Maya continued. The alert was created through an inactive administrative account from Terminal 3B inside the county police department. Ellis added. That account should not have been operational. Maya looked toward Benton, yet it was. Benton folded his hands. A technical failure is not a conspiracy. No, Maya said. That is why we kept looking. She nodded to Marcus. Marcia played the rear camera footage from the church. The room watched Cole stand outside the sanctuary doors, look at his phone, and say, "Benton said do it before the vows." Cole's face tightened. Benton did not move. The clip ended. Maya spoke again. "That was before Officer Cole entered the church and accused me of murder in front of my family." Benton's attorney stood. "This audio is unclear and lacks context." Jonathan Reed rose slowly. "The raw files, time codes, and chain of custody have been preserved. Mr. Reed's office, independent oversight, and county council have verified the source." "I am Jonathan Reed," Jonathan said dryly. "And yes, I have." A few people shifted, but no one laughed. The room was too tense for that. Maya nodded to Marcia, who displayed the next image. The inside of Cole's folder, frozen from Marcus's video. The sticky note was visible after enhancement. "Use old number. Push homicide. Hut, Bay." Cole stared at the screen like he had never seen it before, or like he wished he had not. Maya did not look away from Benton. "Mr. Benton, are those your initials?" Benton smiled faintly. "Half the county has those initials." Elaine Porter stood. "Not half the county has a financial trail leading to Civic Path Holdings." She clicked her laptop. A chart appeared on the screen. Names became dates. Dates became alerts. Alerts became payments. Elaine's voice was crisp. False or defective alerts appeared shortly before major financial events. Within 24 to 48 hours, citizens were contacted by Daryl Voss, who offered so-called compliance help. Payments then moved to Civic Path Holdings or related LLCs. Some victims paid thousands. Some transferred business interests. After payment, alerts were corrected or reclassified as clerical errors. Chairwoman Bell leaned forward. "How many cases?" 26 confirmed so far, Elaine said. "Likely more." A murmur spread through the chamber. Maya let it pass, then said, "These were not random people. They were mostly black residents with businesses, licenses, contracts, reputations, and something to lose." Benton finally spoke. Maya's face remained calm. "No, Mr. Benton. This is accounting." Elaine changed the slide. Civic Path Holdings appeared at the center, lines running to Voss, shell companies, and a family trust tied to Benton's brother-in-law. Benton's attorney stood again. "Alleged connection." Elaine looked at him over her glasses. "Documented connection. Alleged motive." The room grew colder. Maya turned to Grace. "Miss Holloway." Grace stood slowly. Her voice shook at first, then steadied. "I worked in records 19 years. I saw alerts corrected without explanation. I saw complaints reclassified. I saw names disappear from search queues after people paid outside fees. I stayed quiet because I was afraid." Benton looked at her with a soft, dangerous sadness. "Grace, be careful." Maya stepped slightly toward Grace. "She is being careful. That is why she brought records." Marcia played the audio from Grace's flash drive. Benton's voice filled the chamber. "People don't pay when they think they have options." Cole's voice followed. "What if they lawyer up? Then you pick the wrong target," Benton said. "You don't press the ones with power. You press the ones with something to lose and no one to call." A woman in the back row whispered, "Jesus." The recording continued. "Make the bride beg. If she pays, she belongs to us. If she refuses, we ruin her before she ever touches that office." The silence after the audio stopped was absolute. Benton's face had lost its warmth. Chairwoman Bell stared at him. "Mr. Benton?" Benton adjusted his cuffs. "That recording is manipulated." Marcia answered before Maya could. "Forensic review is pending, but the file metadata is consistent with the date Grace Holloway reported. No evidence of editing has been found in preliminary review." Cole shifted behind Benton, his breathing shallow. Maya turned to him. "Officer Cole, yesterday you said you were acting on what came through the system. The system now says something else. Did Harold Benton direct you to serve that alert at my wedding?" Cole's attorney, seated beside him now, grabbed his arm. "Do not answer." Cole looked at Benton. Benton did not look back. That small abandonment said more than any confession. Maya saw Cole understand it. She closed the folder in front of her. "This chamber has heard enough to justify immediate preservation, suspension, and referral. The question now is whether this county protects a reputation or protects the people harmed under it." Chairwoman Bell turned to the council. Her voice was heavy. We will vote on emergency suspension of Harold Benton pending full investigation and referral to state and federal authorities. Benton stood. You are making a mistake. Maya looked at him across the room. No, she said. We are correcting one. The vote was unanimous. As the gavel fell, Benton's polished calm finally cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough for everyone to see the man beneath the suit. Cole stared at the table, silent, trapped between the lie he had served and the truth now walking toward him. Cole did not speak when the gavel fell. He sat behind Benton's table with his hands folded so tightly his knuckles had gone pale. Around him, the council chamber shifted from shock into motion. Reporters whispered into phones. County staff gathered papers. Benton's attorney leaned close to him, speaking fast, but Benton stared straight ahead as if the room had betrayed him personally. Maya watched Cole. Not Benton, Cole, because Benton had built the machine, but Cole had walked into the church. Cole had held the folder. Cole had looked at Maya in her wedding dress and chosen to believe paperwork over humanity. Chairwoman Bell called for a short recess while the emergency suspension order was prepared. Benton stood immediately. This is politics, he said, loud enough for the room to hear. All of it. Maya did not answer. Benton turned toward Cole. Say nothing. For the first time, Cole did not nod. Benton noticed. His expression hardened. Officer Cole. Cole looked up slowly. You said it was clean. Benton's attorney grabbed his sleeve. Do not engage. Cole pulled his arm away. You said the alert was verified. Benton stepped closer, lowering his voice, but not enough. You followed procedure. No, Cole said, his voice rough. I followed you. The room quieted again. Maya felt Isaiah shift beside the wall, alert but still. Jonathan Reed closed one folder and opened another. Marcia Lane restarted the recorder without a word. Benton looked around and seemed to realize too many people had heard. His face smoothed instantly. Officer Cole is emotional. Cole gave a short, bitter laugh. That's what you call it now? His attorney whispered urgently. Travis. Stop talking. Cole stared at the table. His breath came unevenly. He told me she was dangerous. Said if she took that office, good officers would lose their careers. Said she was tied to fraud, that the council was being fooled. Maya's chest tightened, but she remained silent. Cole looked at her then. Not with arrogance this time. With confusion, shame, and something that looked almost like fear. You were shaking, he said. At the church. Maya's voice was quiet. Yes. I thought that meant guilt. No, she said. It meant I was being called a murderer in front of my family. The words landed hard. Cole looked away. Jonathan rose. Madam Chair, before this goes further, Officer Cole has counsel present. If he chooses to make a statement, it should be voluntary and recorded. Cole's attorney said, my client is not making a statement. Cole looked at him. I am. Travis. I said I am. The attorney sat back, furious. Chairwoman Bell spoke carefully. Officer Cole, you understand anything you say may be referred to outside investigators? Cole swallowed. Yes, ma'am. Maya studied him. There was no victory in this. Only a man finding the edge of the pit after helping dig it. Cole said, Benton gave me the folder the morning of the wedding. He said the alert came from a protected source and needed to be served publicly before she made vows that would create political sympathy. A murmur passed through the room. He said push the homicide angle. Cole continued. Said fraud alone wouldn't hold the room. Said her people would defend her unless they doubted her first. Aunt Denise, seated near the back now, covered her mouth. Maya did not turn around. She could not carry her aunt's grief and keep her own voice steady at the same time. Cole's voice dropped. He told me if Isaiah Brooks got aggressive, let cameras catch it. Said it would discredit both of them. Isaiah's face did not move, but his eyes changed. Maya asked, Did you know who I was? Cole shook his head. No, I knew your name. I knew Benton hated the appointment. I didn't know they had already named you chief. He told me you were a political favor. And you believed him. Cole nodded once. I wanted to. That answer was uglier than an excuse and more honest than a denial. Maya opened the personnel file Jonathan had placed before her. The yellow tab marked Rachel Cole's name. There is something else you need to see, she said. Cole looked wary. Maya slid the file across the table. 2 years ago, County Road 18. Serious vehicle accident. Adult female trapped. First person on scene unidentified. because of an undercover assignment nearby. Cole stared at the page. Maya did not dramatize it. She did not relive it for the room. She simply said, "The report says the rescuer wore plain clothes and protective glasses. It says she sustained a burn to the wrist." Cole's face went blank. Maya lifted her left wrist. The cuff marks from the church still circled her skin, but beneath them was the older curved scar. Cole looked at it. His mouth opened, but no words came. Maya said, "Rachel Cole was your sister." The chamber seemed to disappear around him. Cole whispered, "No." Maya lowered her hand. "Yes." He stared at the scar as if it had reached across 2 years and struck him. "You?" he said. Maya's expression did not soften. "Me." Cole's face crumpled, but he did not cry. Not fully. Something worse happened. He looked like a man realizing tears would not be enough. "My mother prayed for the woman who pulled Rachel out," he said. "Every Thanksgiving. She still does." Maya held his gaze. "Yesterday, you tightened cuffs over the scar she prays about." The sentence silenced the entire room. Cole put one hand over his mouth. His shoulders shook once, then stilled. When he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. "I didn't know." "No," Maya said. "You didn't ask." He looked down at the table. "I'm sorry," he said. Maya did not answer right away. She thought of the church doors, the gasps, the doubt in Aunt Denise's eyes, the metal cutting into her wrist, the baton tapping against the pews. Sorry was a small cup held up to a burning house. "Finally," she said, "regret may save your soul, Officer Cole. It will not erase your signature." Cole nodded, broken enough to understand. Then he looked at Chairwoman Bell. "I'll cooperate, fully." Benton stood again. "This is coercion. He's unstable." Cole turned toward him. "No, I was useful." "That's different." Benton's face twisted, just for a second. Cole continued. "The old alerts. Civic Path. Voss. I don't know all of it, but I know names. I know who carried folders. I know which officers got calls before records changed." Jonathan leaned forward. "Are you willing to provide that under oath?" Cole looked at Maya once more, then at the scar on her wrist, then at the recorder on the table. "Yes," he said, "under oath." Maya sat back slowly. There was no applause, no celebration, just the heavy sound of a lie losing one of its servants. Outside the chamber windows, afternoon light fell across the courthouse lawn. Inside, Benton's empire had not collapsed yet, but one of its doors had opened from the inside. By the end of the day, Harold Benton no longer had an office. The county suspension order was signed before sunset. His access card was deactivated. His department phone was collected, and 2 representatives from independent oversight sealed his desk, computer, and file cabinets. Benton stood in the hallway outside the chief's suite with his attorney beside him, looking less like a commander and more like a man who had misplaced the room where people feared him. Maya watched from a distance. She did not smile. Benton adjusted his cufflinks as if dignity could be straightened by habit. "You think this makes you clean, Chief Williams?" Maya stepped closer, but not too close. "No. A badge does not make anyone clean. It only reveals what was already in them." His eyes narrowed. "You are young. You have no idea what this county is. I know what it became under men who thought nobody would ever check the records." Benton leaned in slightly. "Careful. Reformers burn out fast." Isaiah moved one step forward, but Maya lifted her hand without looking at him. "I am being careful," she said. "That is why you are being removed by order, not anger." For the first time, Benton had no answer ready. Across the hall, Cole sat in a conference room with his attorney, Jonathan Reed, Marcia Lane, and 2 state investigators. His statement had already begun. He gave names, dates, officers who received envelopes, supervisors who approved corrections, and the places where Darrell Voss met frightened business owners. He did not ask for sympathy. He did not get any. By nightfall, the first referrals went out. The state attorney general's office opened a criminal inquiry. Federal financial investigators were notified about Civic Path holdings. Darrell Voss's accounts were flagged for preservation. County IT froze all warrant alert logs, correction queues, and deleted administrative notes. Every case marked as a clerical error in the past 5 years was placed under independent review. At 9 that evening, Maya finally stepped into the chief's office. It did not feel like hers yet. Benton's shadow still lived in the polished desk, the leather chair, the framed commendations on the wall. A stale smell of expensive cologne and old coffee lingered in the air. Maya stood in the doorway for a long moment, then walked to the wall behind the desk and removed Benton's favorite framed slogan, "Order before optics." Isaiah watched her. "What will you put there?" Maya opened her bag and pulled out a sheet of paper. It was simple, printed in black letters. "A badge is not a weapon. It is a promise." Isaiah read it and nodded. "Your father would have liked that. He would have corrected the font," Maya said. For the first time in days, Isaiah laughed softly. Grace Holloway entered with a stack of files held carefully against her chest. "Chief Williams?" Maya turned. "Come in, Miss Holloway." Grace looked at the empty space on the wall, then at the paper in Maya's hand. "They told me my transfer is canceled." "It is," Maya said. "You are being reassigned to the transparency unit." Grace blinked. "We have a transparency unit?" "We do now." Grace's eyes filled, but she held herself together. "Thank you." Maya shook her head. "Do not thank me for returning what should never have been taken." The next morning, Briarwood County woke to headlines no one could ignore. County police official suspended amid false warrant scandal. Financial links under review. Sheriff's office confirms multi-year audit. The story moved from television screens to diner booths, from church offices to barber shops, from kitchen tables to small businesses that had once paid quietly because silence seemed cheaper than shame. But silence was no longer cheap. Calls began coming in before 8. A bakery owner wanted to know if her husband's old warrant could be reviewed. A retired nurse asked whether a corrected fraud alert from 3 years ago could be cleared from her employment record. A contractor brought a folder tied with a rubber band and said he had waited 5 years for someone to ask. Maya ordered a public intake process by noon. "No crowds in hallways," she told her staff. "No making people retell pain at a front desk. Private rooms, written receipts, case numbers, and follow-up dates. If they bring us their story, we treat it like evidence." One supervisor asked, "Do we have enough people for that?" Maya looked at him. "We will." The reforms began with small, unglamorous things. Every warrant alert now required 2-person verification. Inactive accounts were terminated. Any correction to a citizen's record created a permanent log that could not be erased by local administrators. Outside fees connected to criminal records were banned, unless authorized by statute and reviewed by counsel. Whistleblower complaints were routed outside the department chain of command. It was not dramatic work. No one cheered for policy language. But Maya knew this was where real justice either lived or died. By afternoon, Cole's badge and service weapon had been collected pending investigation. He left the building through the front doors, not in handcuffs, not yet, but stripped of authority. Reporters called his name. He did not answer. At the bottom of the steps, he stopped when he saw Maya standing near the entrance. "I gave them what I know," he said. "I heard. It won't fix what I did." "No," Maya said. "It will only decide whether you keep doing harm after knowing the truth." Cole looked at her wrist, then away. "My sister wants to thank you." Maya's face remained calm, but her voice softened by a degree. "Tell her to live well. That is thanks enough." Cole swallowed hard. "And you?" "I am not your absolution, Officer Cole." He nodded, as if the words hurt, because they were fair. "I understand." "Start there," Maya said. He walked away smaller than he had entered her life. That evening, the county council approved emergency funding for an independent review board. Elaine Porter was retained to continue tracing Civic Path's money. Jonathan Reed began preparing notices for victims. Grace trained 2 staff members on how to preserve complaint files. Isaiah coordinated with state investigators so the sheriff's office could secure evidence without muddying jurisdiction. Maya moved from room to room until the building grew quiet. Near midnight, she returned to the chief's office. The new paper sign was taped to the wall, temporary but clear. Her father's letter rested on the desk beside a folder of names. Isaiah appeared in the doorway with 2 paper cups of coffee from May's Diner. "You forgot dinner," he said. "I remembered justice. That is not a food group." She took the coffee, and for a moment they stood together in the dim office. No cameras, no counsel, no accusations. Just a husband and wife, whose wedding had not yet been finished. Isaiah looked at the folder. "How many?" 26 confirmed. "More coming." "And Benton?" "Not finished," Maya said. "Suspension is only the door opening." Isaiah nodded. "Then tomorrow we keep walking." Maya looked at the sign on the wall. A badge is not a weapon. It is a promise. For years, Benton had treated that promise like something he could sell, bend, or file away. Now the files were open, the money was moving into the light, and the people he had counted on staying ashamed were beginning to speak. Maya touched the edge of her father's letter. The system had not healed. Not yet. But for the first time in a long time, Briarwood County had stopped bleeding in silence. 1 month after the interrupted wedding, New Hope Baptist Church opened its doors again. This time, no patrol cars waited outside. No officer stood in the aisle with a folder. No false warrant hung over the room like smoke. The afternoon sun poured through the stained glass windows, laying blue, gold, and crimson across the old wooden pews. Maya Williams stood in the small bridal room, looking at herself in the mirror. The same ivory dress had been cleaned and pressed. The torn place near the hem had been repaired so carefully only she knew where the damage had been. Around her bouquet was her father's white handkerchief, folded neatly, just as it had been before everything changed. Aunt Denise stood behind her, dabbing at her eyes before the ceremony had even begun. Maya saw her in the mirror. Aunt Denise. I know, her aunt said, holding up one hand. I promised I wouldn't start crying early. That's not what I meant. Aunt Denise lowered her hand. The room grew quiet. Maya turned to face her. Her aunt's voice trembled. I doubted you in that church. You were afraid. I was wrong. Aunt Denise stepped closer. Fear may explain it, baby, but it doesn't excuse it. I should have known your name better than their papers. Maya looked down at the bouquet. For weeks, those words had been sitting somewhere inside her, waiting for a place to land. Finally, she said, "It hurt." Aunt Denise nodded, tears slipping down her face. I know. Maya let the silence stand for a moment. Then she reached for her aunt's hand. But we are still here. Aunt Denise squeezed her fingers. Yes, we are, in the sanctuary. The pews filled with grown men and women who had carried the last month in different ways. Grace Holloway sat near the front in a navy dress, her back straighter than it had been in the records room. Marcus Reed stood near the side aisle with his camera, this time recording joy instead of damage. Elaine Porter sat with a program in her lap, glasses on her head. Jonathan Reed spoke quietly with Reverend Samuel King near the pulpit. Several business owners who had come forward during the audit sat together, not as victims on display, but as people whose names were being returned to them. Isaiah waited at the altar in a black suit. He looked older than he had a month ago, or maybe just more fully seen. Sheriff Isaiah Brooks had spent weeks coordinating investigators, protecting evidence, and standing beside his wife while the county learned how deep the rot had gone. But now, as the organ began, he was simply a man waiting for the woman he loved. The doors opened. Maya stepped into the aisle. No one gasped this time. No one whispered in doubt. The room rose to its feet slowly, with the kind of respect that did not need noise. Maya walked past the pew where Aunt Denise had once questioned her, past the place where Cole had held up the false photograph, past the corner of the wooden bench that had bruised her side. She felt all of it, but none of it stopped her. When she reached Isaiah, he took her hand gently. His thumb brushed near the faint marks on her wrist, now nearly healed. You ready? He whispered. Maya looked at the altar, then at the church doors behind her. Yes, she said. This time I am. Reverend King opened his Bible. Some vows are delayed not because love is weak, he said, his voice filling the room, but because truth had to arrive first. A soft amen moved through the sanctuary. The ceremony continued where it had been broken. Maya Williams, Reverend King said, do you take Isaiah Brooks to be your lawfully wedded husband, to stand with him in truth, in hardship, in mercy, and in the work of building a life that honors God and one another? Maya looked at Isaiah. She thought of the patrol car, the side entrance, the records room, the council chamber, the long nights with coffee gone cold and files spread open. She thought of Benton's voice on the recording, of Cole's face when he saw the scar, of Grace's trembling hands, of her father's letter. She thought of every person who had paid for their own freedom because someone had turned the law into a toll road. Then she smiled through tears. I do. Reverend King turned to Isaiah. Isaiah Brooks, do you take Maya Williams to be your lawfully wedded wife, to stand with her in truth, in hardship, in mercy, and in the work of building a life that honors God and one another? Isaiah's eyes shone. I do. The room seemed to breathe again. When Reverend King pronounced them husband and wife, the church rose in applause. It was not loud in the way crowds are loud. It was deep, full, earned. Older women wiped their eyes. Men who rarely cried cleared their throats and looked toward the ceiling. Aunt Denise pressed both hands over her heart. At the reception in the church fellowship hall, there was fried chicken, green beans, cornbread, potato salad, sweet tea, and peach cobbler from May's Diner. People spoke softly at first, then more freely as the evening warmed. Laughter returned to the room like something that had been waiting outside for permission. Grace approached Maya near the cake table. "I wasn't sure I should come," Grace said. Maya smiled. "You helped make sure I could come back." Grace looked down, embarrassed. "The first review letters went out this morning. 12 families. I heard. One woman called and just cried. She said nobody from the county had ever said the word sorry to her before." Maya's smile faded into something more solemn. "Then we have more work to do." Grace nodded. "Monday?" "Monday." Across the room, Marcus lowered his camera and said to Isaiah, "I promise this version of the wedding video is better." Isaiah laughed. "I surely hope so." Jonathan raised a cup of sweet tea. "To clean records and completed vows." Elaine added, "And to never trusting a spreadsheet without receipts." Even Maya laughed at that. Later, after the guests began drifting into the warm evening, Maya and Isaiah stepped outside onto the church stairs. The Georgia sky was purple at the edges, and the air smelled of cut grass, magnolia, and food from the fellowship hall kitchen. For a while, neither of them spoke. Isaiah looked toward the parking lot. "Does it still hurt?" Maya followed his gaze to the spot where Cole's patrol car had waited a month before. She could still remember the sound of the door closing, the metal around her wrists, the silence of people wondering whether the lie might be true. "Yes," she said. "But now it has a purpose." Isaiah took her hand. "What happens next?" Maya looked toward the courthouse in the distance, hidden beyond the darkening streets of Briarwood. Benton's investigation was still unfolding. Civic Path's accounts were still being traced. More victims would come forward. More names would need clearing. Justice, she had learned, did not arrive like thunder and finish the work in one strike. It arrived like morning, slowly exposing what the dark had tried to keep. "Next," she said, "we keep our promises." The following Monday, Chief Maya Williams walked into the county police building with her wedding ring on her hand and her father's letter in her desk drawer. On the wall behind her, the temporary paper sign had been replaced by a framed one. "A badge is not a weapon, it is a promise." She paused beneath it before the day began. Outside her office, phones rang, files opened, and people who had been afraid for years began telling the truth. A lie had opened the church door, but truth was the one that walked her back down the aisle. The lesson of this story is that truth may be delayed, but it should never be surrendered. Maya's journey reminds us that injustice often hides behind paperwork, uniforms, titles, and official words, but courage begins when one person refuses to let a lie define them. Real power is not found in humiliating others or protecting corruption. Real power is the discipline to stand calmly, gather the truth, and use justice not for revenge, but to protect those who have been silenced. A badge, a title, or any position of authority is never a weapon. It is a promise to serve with honor. Thank you for staying with this story until the very end. If it touched your heart, I would truly love to hear your thoughts on the storytelling, the emotional pacing, or whatever stayed with you after listening. Every comment you share helps make the next stories more honest, moving, and meaningful. And if you have a powerful or meaningful story of your own, please do not hesitate to send it to the channel. It may become the next story to touch and inspire thousands of others. This video is a work of fiction created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. All characters, events, and situations are not real, and do not represent any actual people or true stories. The content is intended for storytelling and emotional illustration only.